his pad level got to get a little higher to me. You know what I'm saying? It seemed like he started out uh uh a low center of gravity, you know what I'm saying? But he hell of in the run, man. I think, he sprung a lot of big runs, especially on the inside. He likes to pull, you know what I mean? I know that was something that our offense did a lot of the last couple years, you know what I'm saying? Especially down at the goal around the goal line. You got David Montgomery down there, Craig Reynolds with the short runs, and then Jahmyr Gibbs is quick enough where he could get on the outside. So I like the pick, man. When you look at it, well, to start the show tonight, 14, 12 guys went before he did offensively. Okay. Eight offensive linemen went in the first round, and Tate Ratledge was the fifth offensive lineman to go in the second round. He was in the top one or two of the second tier of linemen, right? So I had no problem with the pick. Um, listen, Izaraku was off the board at that time. JT Tuamalo was off the board. Terrence Ferguson, my favorite tight end, was off the board. Demetrius Knight Jr. was off the board, and Nick Skirton was off the board. You know what I'm saying? At that time when we passed on Mike Green. That's pretty much the only pick, you know what I'm saying, that we can look back and say the Lions straight up passed on Mike Green twice. You know what I'm saying? But those other guys, like I said, maybe if Izaraku was on the board, maybe they would have went that way. You know what I'm saying? You never know. JT Tilmalo, maybe he might have been the pick if he was there. But listen, I'm not gonna knock it because I figured this guy's gonna start, man. I don't see any scenario where he's not starting. You know what I'm saying? On that.
Well, that's a good thought. And we were just talking about that before the video started. So I want to ask you this while we on air now.
Uh-huh.
Uh, we would think when you look at the amount of talent he has and experience he has, and we also discussed Miles Frazier. We'll get into the Frazier video probably later on in the week.
Yeah.
But we discussed the type of talent both of these young dudes have.
Yeah.
And we discussed the possibilities and this excitement too, because both of these guys are our guys, especially Frazier. You and I have been
Mm-hmm.
raving about Frazier ever since the Senior Bowl, so we amped and we stoked to really get to see those guys out there on the field.
Mm-hmm.
But by default,
Yeah.
Mahogany, he's going to get first crack. Mahogany played well down the stretch of the season once he was finally able to get out there on the field.
Yeah.
Glasgow's a vet. The veterans are always favorites on the team. They're gonna always get first crack right as well, right along with the new young guy that showed a lot of promise his rookie season. And Frank is Frank.
Yeah.
Frank is the rock. Frank's not going anywhere out of that spot until Frank leaves on his own. So, kind of by default, both of these guys may end up being bench players.
Yeah.
We talked about, and we don't want to get too deep into Miles Frazier because this is a Tate Ratledge video, but we also discussed the possibilities with him having so much versatility, being able to play left guard as well as right guard, being able to kick out and play some tackle. He may get on the field quicker than Tate because Tate is purely a right guard. Tate's never been anything other than a right guard.
Yeah.
Miles has, a ton of versatility.
Yeah.
Due to that versatility and due to the brutality of the position of being an offensive lineman, guys get hurt. Guys get nicked up on a game-to-game basis. So Frazier could be the guy that sees the field quicker.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's facts. I mean, and then, okay, if you say that, you're going to have a bunch of people in the comments, bunch of people going to say, well, why would you take a guy that's not going to start, second round? And it's like, it's that the big picture is this, man, just what you said, man. When we was talking before we got on the air, like when you get in a pinch, injuries happen all year. You know what I'm saying? Listen, these guys playing 17 games. Hopefully you want to hope your offensive line stays intact, but sometimes it's just not the case, man. You know what I'm saying? I was thinking of this maybe, if Ragnow, let's just say if we give Ragnow a week off or two, now we can do that. Well, you know what I'm saying? Now that we have the flexibility because you can move Glasgow, can play center. You know what I'm saying? I know Corby Sorstal last year was kind of practicing at center. You know what I'm saying? If you get into a pinch, maybe Mahogany can play center, you know what I'm saying, for a couple weeks, you know, until those injuries heal. So I think both these guys, you know, Tate Ratledge tonight, he's too good to not see the field, man. Maybe like you said, it could be a situation where you know, Glasgow might get first crack. I'm sorry, Mahogany might get first crack at it. It's going to be interesting to see where Glasgow fits in all of this. You know what I'm saying? Because I've been calling for change a little bit. You know, a little bit of different.
Yeah.
Uh, you know what I'm saying? I just think that we need some more talent. We finally addressed offensive line. Me and you've been talking about the talent hasn't been there. You know what I'm saying? I mean, high end talent, and we got it finally. I just think that now it's just a piece, you know, the puzzle's got to fit right together. Tate Ratledge as a whole, hey, listen, I like what I see, especially in the run game. You know, the Lions are their bread and butter is Gibbs and Montgomery, and I think that, you know, to have Tate Ratledge in the fold, to have Penei Sewell, Taylor Decker, you know, Frank Ragnow, Kristen Mahogany, it's man, it's so refreshing just to know that we addressed it. Because listen, Minnesota did the same thing. You know what I'm saying? They took Donovan Jackson. You know what I'm saying? You know, Chicago's been building offensive line. Green Bay, I think out of the four teams, their offensive line might be the weakest right now. But I think the teams that we're going against coming up, Walton, 2025, 26, they're going to call for us to have our offensive line got to be strong, man, period. And we can't just, I agree with Greg. I mean, it's just, man, you cannot have any kinks in the armor, man. And I think just what Greg said, I think he was horrible at the end of the last season. That Washington game was deplorable. That was one of the reasons why they lost the game, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? It was just no pushback on our offensive line, and we don't have that. You know, the Lions are not built on like finesse anymore. I don't believe that. I think we gonna, you punch us, we punch you back. You know what I'm saying? You knock us down, we getting up. We knocking you down too. You know what I'm saying? That type of thing. So every game's gonna be a dogfight. What better way to usher in some new talent? And then two, I think Tate Ratledge is a guy too. He can thrive with this offensive line. Just what Greg said, like when you got other stars around you, okay. I just think that the pressure's not going to be on him. All he has to do is just play, man, just like he did in college, and he'll be fine. You know what I'm saying? It's just gonna be interesting just how it shakes out. You know what I'm saying? Who's gonna make who's gonna be on the starting route first game of the season? Who's gonna actually be starting on that offensive line, man? It's gonna be very interesting because, like you said, Miles Frazier is so talented. You can't keep a guy like that off the field. Tate Ratledge has got great traits, you know, great things that this line's this line can bring, especially in the run game. I think Tate Ratledge is going to be awesome in the run game, man. I just want to see it all come together. Just what you said when we drafted him, like camp gonna be crazy, man. The offensive line room. Think about the competition. Well, I mean, that's right there. Like, you know what I'm saying? That somebody going, and I think that it's up for grabs. I really do. I don't think nothing's set in stone. I mean, what if it's a situation where I'm just putting it out there? What if hell, uh, Taylor Decker gets outplayed? I mean, even though he's left tackle, and you shuffle the line around and you put,
And that's the question.
dare I
I
say,
was waiting on you to get around to that, and I was
what
like
what if
there's the question, like how loyal, because Hank is still there too,
yeah,
so we don't know. Like Hank is also now the run game coordinator,
yeah,
so Hank is not only just responsible and loyal to his guys as far as the offensive line room. Hank is also responsible for keeping that run game going.
yeah,
So you may be loyal to Glasgow, but what if Ratledge or what if Miles Frazier turn out to be light years better than Graham Glasgow in the run game? And we're
mhm,
struggling to get the run game going between the A gaps and the B gaps. And you got these two young dogs in practice who like, listen, I can get out there and do this, coach. Are you a team that's so loyal to your veterans that you'll just go down with the ship? I don't want to see that happen. And I'm kind of interested by that because for one, like I said, Hank is back. Hank is an excellent offensive line coach. Hank is now currently also responsible for the run game coordination. So Hank has more responsibilities on his plate now. Like it's not just about staying loyal to my guys. I got to be loyal to my guys, but I also got to understand that listen, if I don't get this run game going, I might get fired. That's just the nature of the business when it comes to the NFL. But what I do like about the guys they have, and I'm not talking about the Kobe Source dolls of the world because I never really considered him. I considered him a guy who was a late round reach. And considering where he was drafted, yeah, that was still kind of a reach from William and Mary. Interesting enough, was it Charles Grant, who the Raiders took later on in the draft this year?
Yeah,
Way better player, but
that's the guy.
yeah.
That's
But
the
I
guy.
think,
Yeah,
Miles Frazier, Tate Ratledge, like these guys feel like legitimate shots in the draft. They don't feel like a Giovanni Manu. Like these feel like, okay, you know what? We talked about the possibilities of them trading up for maybe Tyler Booker or Booker falling to 28. Well, that didn't happen because Dallas valued him. And what did Dallas do last season? They took a guard in the second round last season in Cooper Beebe. So I think teams are also getting back to realizing that, hey, listen, if we can't protect our quarterback and we can't get the run game going, we don't have a damn thing else. That's the key thing to it. Now, to piggyback off what you were just saying before we get into the whole Tate Ratledge, the scouting report for the most part, what he does well, what he doesn't do so well, and the film study, you look at the fact that people say, well, we got Graham Glasgow back and we have this and we have that. There's not too much, honestly, going on depth wise. I want to take a look real quick. And I don't even want to get into like the Our Seekers of the world and the Kobe Source dolls. To me, those guys don't actually matter too much. But once you start talking about Decker, Skipper, and I love Dan Skipper. Dan Skipper is a decent backup, but you and I discussed this prior to the season. This idea that we can't upgrade from some of our fan favorites,
yeah.
that's something that fans have to let go. And you're
All
talking
right.
about after
Yeah,
Skipper, Giovanni Manu. I just have a question mark right there in that spot right there on the roster right there.
yeah,
Graham Glasgow starting in left guard right now, sliding for that. And then you got Christian Mahogany. Then at right tackle, you talking about Panay Sewell and Kobe Sourcedahl. So for people who say it was an abundance of riches, we reached, we didn't have to take offensive lineman that high. Why'd you take him that high? Why guard that high? That's why. And if we can explain that to you, maybe you don't want to hear it. You can always get on the internet, Google it, read it for yourself. That's not something that any fan should be feeling pretty happy about heading into next season. As rough as it was for us to stay healthy on the defensive line last year, the NFL proves that thing can flip right around and we can have that
yeah.
same type of missed luck on the offensive side of the ball when it
Offensive
comes to the
line.
offensive side of the offensive line. So if you don't have any offensive line depth with quality players, add that to a non-mobile quarterback, add that to the fact that we're not a seven-step drop type of team offensively when it comes to our passing game. We're about time and rhythm. That's not going to work. So, you and I both felt like, listen, offensive line was something that needed to be addressed. We said this last offseason, matter of fact, and they finally jumped on it this offseason. So I want to get into a few things about Mr. Ratledge real quick. Talking about 6'6.5", I put the half there because these are his combine numbers. I know PFF recently had him at I think either 6'4" or 6'5", 330, 334 roughly, if I'm not mistaken. But these are his combine measurables. You're talking about 6'6.5", 308 pounds. Personally, I prefer my guards between 320 and 330, maybe 335. But he dropped a lot of weight, shedded a lot of weight, especially in the midsection. Maybe that's going to help him to potentially move to tackle. I don't know. And that's something else I thought that came up at the combine about him. And some people feeling like this is something also. I don't want to jump around too much, but I think this is something that people need to take into account in regards to him and his athleticism. Since 1987 to now, 2025, his RAS score ranks him fifth in guards since 1987, meaning he's the fifth most athletic guard, at least RAS score wise, since 1987 to be recorded. That right there lets you know this dude was a special prospect, but at the end of the day, everybody doesn't really value guards like that. The media doesn't really talk about guards pre-draft through the entire draft process. So it's hard for people to really get a nice grasp on these guards. But this is a quality player we got. You look at the requisite skill set, you're talking about needing the having the ability to A gap protect. That right there is the number one job for any center, any left guard, any right guard, because if you cannot protect the A gaps on either side, that means you're going to give up a ton of pressure up the middle. That also means that you're not going to be able to run the ball between the tackles, and therefore you have no game plan, you have no scheme, you have no offense. Second, high IQ. He's alert to all stunts and twists, athleticism, ability to fluidly move in space. And what I mean by this is when guys, a lot of guards get out in space, some tackles, not necessarily tackles, because you have to have a certain level of athleticism to play tackle in the NFL. But as a guard, or even a center for that matter, when you get out in space, how comfortable do you look moving at that second level? Because, of course, as a guard, you're out there looking to hit somebody. You want to hit some poor free safety or some poor weak side linebacker. If you're not comfortable and athletic in space, those linebackers will take your head off as well. So that's something else that he also has. It's pretty much another feather in his cap. Pulling at the second level action, physicality, and toughness in the run game. That's something he has an abundance of. You don't have to ask him to be tough. You don't have to ask him to fight. You don't have to ask him to be physical. That's
Yeah,
something he's
facts.
going to bring. Yeah, that's something
Facts.
he's going to bring pretty much consistently. Scheme versatility wise, when it comes to blocking, he can play either big on big, he can play full slide, or he can play some jet pro, etc. Ability consistently to anchor and reset. You're not going to always beat every defensive tackle to the spot, every one tech, every two tech, every three tech. So your ability to get to the spot, meet them there, even when they beat you there, secondly, and be able to reset. That means being able to either jump reset or slide reset, tons of knee bend, drop and anchor. All right, we got line of scrimmage mover, not walk back. Simple as that. I think that's pretty much self-explanatory. You do not want to get pushed back into the quarterback's lap. We cannot have that at all. You don't let the line of scrimmage move you back. You move the line of scrimmage at least 5 yards. Wide base, knee bend, explosive. Once again, self-explanatory. You dealing with these defensive tackles. A lot of guards in this day and age in the NFL are 6'5" and taller, 6'4". You don't get too many 6'7" guards for that matter. A lot of these defensive tackles are what, 6'2", 6'3", 315. If you're talking about the three techs, taller guards, shorter defensive tackles, that means you got to get lower than him. He has a pretty good tendency of routinely doing that. Spatial awareness at the second level, already touched on that. Consistent pad level and balance, heavy hands, violent at the point of attack. Those are also things that you don't have to really teach with him. They come natural to him overall. And, those are just the good things. I'm going to get to some of the negatives in a second. But I think if you just look at the positives with him, there's no rational reason why he won't at least be next man up. And I agree with you. I think that if we're talking about strictly from a talent standpoint, he should outplay Glasgow. We also
Yeah.
feel like Miles Frazier, from an athleticism standpoint and versatility standpoint, both of these guys should outplay him.
Yeah.
But will they get the opportunities to start? And let's say it's week 3, week 4, the run game is not going, and we're talking about specifically maybe the power inside, the traps inside, the counters inside, none of that is working. And it's directly because we're not getting physical enough, and we got guys in the interior of our offensive line that can't move the line. Are you willing to sit that vet down for the young guy, especially when you brought the vet back? So I think that's a big question that they do have as far as this offensive line overall.
Yeah.
But just to get some of your thoughts on what I did have up.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a pretty decent in the run. I think he above average, in my opinion. I think that yeah, he's got enough bend to him. I like the quick light on his feet, man. I think he's super quick. He got a lot of ability to get out of his break and just be ready for the point of attack. You know what I'm saying? He's super explosive too. And I think he's not an over muscular or anything like that. He doesn't look physically imposing, but man, Tate Ratledge is a baller, man. He can play ball. I like everything about him, man. I think he is above average blocking. I think the run game, I think maybe his specialty in my opinion, at least right now. And the Georgia mindset was sort of like maybe run the ball, control the line of scrimmage. He did play with a bunch of athletes on that offensive line as well at Georgia, so he wasn't like the only guy. Which that's the only thing you want to hold against him and say, well, maybe he didn't stick out. 2024, I think he had some injury issues. He didn't play as much as he did last year. I think in 2023 didn't give up a sack. I think it was like 5 pressures or something like that in 2023. So he had like not that great of a year in 23. It was decent. I mean, a lot of linemen would take the year he had, but 2024, like I said, some injuries. Then last year he kind of stood out this past season. So yeah, it is everything to like about him, man. I just think that every time he went up against high end talent. I think they played Texas earlier in the season. He held his own against them guys. When you can't play. I always say this about SEC players. I mean, you're not going to be able to start on the SEC team at all and not be a good player, man. You know what I'm saying? That's how I feel about it. If you're starting for Georgia at offensive line, you're not a scrub, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if that's the case, you would have went somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? Because you can't cut it. So, yeah, Tate Ratledge is everything you would want in today's NFL. Like you say, he maybe not the physically imposing, this big, massive, super uber athletic guy. But you know what? I mean, I just think that he fits everything that, especially with that we're trying to do. And that's the other thing. I just think that all of these guys that Brad Holmes picked fits what they're looking for. You know what I'm saying? And it's their, like they can say, I like pistachio ice cream. I can say I like cookies and cream. It's just they have their own preference, man, of players that they like. You know what I'm saying? And he fits the bill of what they're looking for. You know what I'm saying? And I think it will mesh because we're in a division where, again, you're gonna have to be tough at the line of scrimmage, and he brings that. I mean, he'll lower the hat. He'll go after somebody. I know after the whistle, you still got to look. You don't have to look for him like walking back to the huddle. I guarantee you he's still mixing it up, it with the play before. You know what I'm saying? Well, he plays to the whistle, is what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? He's going all the way, finishing blocks, finishing plays. I even seen him getting up the field on some pass plays, you know what I'm saying, to help out blocking. So what's not to like about this guy? I just find it hard to believe that he's not going to be out there. You know what I'm saying? Just I don't believe that. I think that he's good enough where he could play like right now. You know what I'm saying? Right away, get him out there. Where and who's going to be at a disadvantage? Again, that remains to be seen. You know what I'm saying? How it's going to shake out. So
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I mean it's gonna come down to if either he or Frazier outplay Glasgow or Mahogany for
mhm.
that matter, because it's not etched in
Yeah.
stone that Mahogany is going to play great. We expect him
Yeah.
to. We hope he does, but
Yeah.
realistically, sometimes offensive linemen play different, positive, negative on a year one to year two basis. So it's not always that guarantee. But like I said, I
Yeah.
mean, you just have to have offensive line help. You have to have depth. It's not one thing. It's not the only thing to just have depth. You have to have quality depth. That's something you and I
That's
have been
right.
screaming at this fan base for the longest about defense. Everybody screams about how deep we are. We got depth. We got depth. The depth got us to 15 wins last season, but those depth players were not good enough to get us to the next level when you're talking about money time. And by money time, we talking about the second week of January. And by the
Yeah.
second week of January, we talking about the playoffs.
Yeah.
Stars get it done in the playoffs. Big time quarterbacks get it done.
Yeah.
Edge rushers get it done. Cornerbacks get it done. Quarter top level head coaches get it done. Defense coordinators, offense coordinators, that's what gets it done.
Yeah.
C minus, C plus try hard players, that's not what gets it done in January. So
Yeah.
hold on one second. We got some static coming in right now. That might be your microphone. I'm
Is it
sure.
static? Can you hear
Oh yeah,
something?
there we go. Yeah, we
You
good
good?
now.
Okay.
Yep. So give these people a couple more thoughts on you have as far as Mr. Ratledge for 1 second while I bring up this film.
Yeah. I mean, listen, he went after Ozzy Trapilo. That was another guy that we kind of had on our radar. I think the Bears took him a pick right before. It's ironically went to the Bears, and then you get Green Bay that took Anthony Belton, a pick, 2 picks before that. So, I mean, I always play into the fact that other teams in your division, you have to, counter what they're doing, man. And I think that, like, just like you said, I think that right now we're back to running back ball control. Because remember, it was a time where running backs wasn't really thought of like that. You know what I'm saying? In the NFL landscape, where it was a part of the offense, but now you want the home run hitter, big. Look at Ashton Genty, look at Amarion Hampton. Those guys got drafted early, so you know teams following suit with Bijan and Jameer Gibbs, and
Quinshawn
you got
Judkins and Travion Henderson.
Travion Henderson, correct. Trying to just, so now, having said that, make sure you get you a Tyler Booker. You get you a Gray Zabel. Those guys were those guys were hot commodities, man. And it wasn't. Remember, we talked about it all leading up to the draft. All of these guys, man, and all those guys were off the board. You know what I'm saying? Will Campbell went early, and so I always, if it's your guy, go get your guy, man. You know what I'm saying? I clearly Tate Ratledge was on Dan Campbell and I mean Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell board, you know what I'm saying? Because they drafted him. I don't think they take anybody that they don't like, you know what I'm saying? Or they just like throwing it up in the air, throwing it against the wall and see if it sticks. I think that they sought them out. I don't know if they met with him numerous amount of times. I mean, it was a lot of players that they met with. I mean, we were hearing Josiah Stewart. They met with him multiple times. He was on the board,
He fell
but
to
they.
the third. That's why we keep telling people believe half of what you see and none of what you hear when it comes to this draft talk, because we've seen teams bring guys in for 2 interviews and then 2 virtual interviews and still don't draft them.
Yeah, yeah,
So a lot of this, I think is to throw teams off, teams in the division. It's a lot
right,
of gamesmanship, when it comes to the NFL draft too.
yeah, and it's all predicated on securing that pick. I mean, do you think? I don't even know if they would have maybe traded up to get him. You know what I'm saying? Because I was thinking this maybe if they felt, because remember, let's see, he was the 13th pick, 13 offensive lineman that went, and he was the 5th one in the second round. So they all the offensive linemen was going, like all the talented ones. You know what I'm saying? Well, and you don't want to, like you said, pigeonhole yourself and get the seventh best lineman. But I think with a lot of people, I've been talking to a lot of people that had a problem with it. You're picking the seventh best, I mean the fifth best lineman or sixth best lineman as opposed to getting one of the top edge rushers. And I think that people that are upset, I'm saying, not me or you, but people that I've talked to, that they felt like, well, why would you take him? And you could have took Mike Green, and you could have went a little bit lower and waited and got, Charles Grant. I'm just thinking of Charles Grant because he went in the third, a little bit low. You know what I'm saying? But it's just like, again, it's like you got to pick a guy that you want. That's the guy that they wanted. So I think, yeah, they might have went edge rusher. Let's just say if they Tate Ratledge wouldn't have been on the board, or they might have traded up to get him. You know what I'm saying? Like they traded up in the past, like they traded to get Tesla. So I just felt that to get him where they got him, I had no problem with it, Walt. Just like me when you talked, if you would have told me after 60 picks, we would have had Talik Williams, Tate Ratledge, regardless of the number that's on the side when we took them, I would be happy. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I'm looking at it. You know what I mean? If you would have told me before the draft we was going to get those two guys in the first two picks, it wouldn't have been. You wouldn't have heard a peep out of me. You know what I'm saying? Because I realize it's once you get into the draft, everything all nothing's off limits, man. You know what I'm saying? You can go in saying, I'm gonna get this guy, and then you don't know the team five spots behind you jump up and get that player, those two players you've been talking about for 6 months. You know what I'm saying? You gotta have a plan B, right? You gotta have, somebody else other than this hell bent edge rusher that you wanted. You know what I'm saying? And then Brad Holmes, the only thing he said through the whole process, and I believe him, that he was saying, like, listen, he was like, I can draft an edge rusher, 6'4", 280 pounds, but it might not be the right guy. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you can remember what's the kid from Texas Tech went to the Tyree Wilson, right?
Mm-hmm.
Remember, everybody was hell bent on getting a Tyree Wilson. He's the next best edge rusher, and getting ready to be and he has done a damn thing too much. You know what I'm saying, for me? And it was like
Right.
physically imposing. He looked the part. Man, he was like a young Alden Smith, but dude, he gets on the field, it just hasn't mounted to anything, man.
Not at
So
all. Not at all.
that so and there's some truth to that. You know what I'm saying? Now the guy we took, we're gonna talk about it later on down the line, at edge
Oh
rusher.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
um I mean, I don't know if you got the video, you got it ready,
Oh yeah.
fired up, so we can go through the film.
Yeah.
Because I think people gonna like this guy, man. I think that he works hard as hell. Total. I just like that he gets down and dirty, not flashy. He just does the job, man, in a thorough way, like the most thorough you can do it. He does it. You know what I'm saying? If you tell him, he telling you, telling the guys in the huddle, don't worry about me. I got my man. He's that kind of guy. Like, I got my man. Don't worry about me.
Well,
You
you
know what
see
I'm
what I
saying?
put in the description. Like his performance in this game specifically, not just this game, but this game, because it's the game we showcasing tonight. But he's very workmanlike, like the Joe Thomas of guards, almost. It's like but that's also experience. That's being well coached. That's also talent, God given talent he has. The size, the athleticism, the aggressiveness, the technique, the dedication to learning your position and honing your skills. He has all of those things. And I picked this game specifically because, for one, Alabama overall is pretty much one of the closest you're going to get to like a replica of an NFL defense. And also from 2023, you're talking about Dallas Turner, Chris Braswell, Jahad Campbell, Deron Payne Jr. were all on this team as well in that defensive front. And they ran a lot of stunts, a lot of twists. Alabama runs a lot of defensive concepts born and bred from the NFL. So, like I said, if you want to get a good feeling for offensive linemen, go see if they play at Alabama. and see exactly how they fared against Alabama's defensive front. And in this game, he fared pretty well against them. So I want to go ahead and get into this. We're gonna run at a decent speed. I'm gonna stop and go through a few plays for that matter, but overall, just want everybody to get a good grasp on who he is as a player and what he's good at. All right, so of course he's number 69 right here. Not going to explain the play, but I am going to speed this up a little bit, just a little bit. There we go. All right. Problem with this play, for one, first off, I love the blocking. People gonna look at this play and say, "Well, the play wasn't for a damn thing." You're right, it wasn't for a damn thing. But in football, especially offensively, you have a lot of situations like this where the offensive line works in unison. They do everything they're supposed to do, but maybe the end result of it wasn't what you expected to be. Maybe the part of it, which was supposed to be the glamour part of it, getting the football to your top player. This right here is 11-man personnel right here. You would think, seeing how the blocking unfolded on this play should have been a trap to number 2. Or, you know what, you want to go ahead and you want to pull 19 back, give it to him on a sweep. But to get this cute with blocking this solid, to me, was terrible. So, all right, what you're going to get first is on the front side. Actually, we're going to start on the back side. On the back side, 71 to 73. They're going to double team the defensive end right here. People are going to say, okay, well, if they're going to double team the defensive end right here, this defensive tackle right here, what's going on with this edge rusher here on the outside, which I believe is Chris Braswell from 2023. No need to worry about that. We'll get to that in a second. If you look at what's going on the front side, 69 right there at right guard, Tate Ratledge, he's going to get out and pull. When he gets out and pulls, 77, the center, is going to shift over. He's going to take the one tech. 65, right tackle, he's going to take the edge rusher. 19 is going to pull because that weak side, that strong side linebacker out there,
Yeah.
he has pretty much no chance to make anything happen on this play. Now, I'm going to go ahead and run this because what Tate Ratledge does, all of this is built around Ratledge getting to the B gap. Because 71 to 73, the defensive tackle, all he wants to do, hopefully, is get 73. He's not going to be able to handle 71. He's not worried about 71. He wants to get
Yeah.
73 into that A gap. He wants to close that A gap. He's not going to be able to get there himself. Now, what he does on this play, I think, is a little foolish. He pretty much just threw his body to the A gap instead of kind of lining up, getting skinny with 73 sideways and kind
Yeah.
of get half man and getting half his body, at least half his body over to the A gap.
Yeah.
So that exactly. So that way the running back isn't necessarily responsible for that mic right there, which is 32. That looks like a safety, might be McKinstry, I don't know. But once you in the box, damn it, you a linebacker for that for that particular play. But I'm
Yeah.
going to go ahead and run this, and you're going to see exactly how everything unfolds. Exactly. I'm gonna slow it down actually. And you're gonna see exactly how everything unfolds in slow motion and probably how things should have went. So 71 to 73, they're gonna smash him to that gap.
So
Exactly. Now, Ratledge did exactly what Ratledge should have did.
yeah, he did his job on that. You know what I'm saying? That was a dumb play call.
It
But
was
they, you know
like that
what
should have
though?
been a trap, if anything.
Yeah, right. To number 2, because like you said, they the way the defense was, so look right there. Look, that was the play, because it's sort of like whoever running is, that's not ETN, the running back. I don't know who that is, but
No, that
he
I forgot who the ETN is over there with Clemson, but I forgot what running back that is, number 2. But look at number 32. The
yeah,
designated Mike on that play. Like
yeah,
that's a safety. He wants that's a corner actually. He wants no part of that. So what you're gonna get right here is if you go ahead instead of faking the damn delay to the running back, giving the running back the actual delay on there. Now you got a situation where Ratledge, he's going to take care of this defensive end right here. And if you were smart on that play, the tight end number 19, instead of him carrying across, 19 will actually take the A gap and take on that corner, because the corner
Yeah,
wants nothing. He wants nothing to do with that tight end blocking wise. But instead of you doing it, this is what happens. You get a loss of 3 yards on that play.
yeah,
So I think that right there is a perfect example of an offensive line working in unison, doing everything they're supposed to do, and overall the execution of the play being terrible. Or at the end of the day, it should have either been a handoff, a trap to the running back, or a delay. But you
yeah.
end up with a lot of stuff like that.
I thought Travis Etienne, ain't that his brother that played for Georgia? I thought his
What is?
brother was,
Didn't his
yeah.
brother get drafted? What is it? Is it the
Nah, but I'm
third
talking about in
ETN?
this game. I think his brother played.
You
I know he
right.
played last
You
year
right.
for
You right.
Georgia.
You right. You right. I
But
don't think
that's what
that's
I was
him though.
thinking. No, that's you're right about that.
Yeah.
I think he wears number 1. But yeah, but
Anybody
what I
know who
was gonna
number 2 was for Georgia last
I
year?
I I was thinking of this, Walt. It's sort of like, okay, this is what I can say about Tate Ratledge on this play. I mean, it's a horrible, horrible play, but I can say that he took his man out. I mean, geez, run the play again. I mean, he did. Yeah, there we go, Kendall. Trevor Etienne. I couldn't think his name for nothing. Um, boom, he did his job. I mean, he erased that guy. I mean, how the hell would you? Oh, he went to
Film don't
Carolina.
lie,
Okay.
bro.
Yeah,
Listen, film don't lie. Look
how
at what
the
32 did though.
yeah.
32 wanted no part of no action at all. Even though this ain't the play right here, this was the prior play.
And then ain't you inside the 20-yard line? That was inside. Who the Georgia offensive coordinator, man? That was like you giving away the ball. I mean, you just Carson Beck, he ain't hell of a like that to just be so arrogant throwing a ball like that, man. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like you got, pick a quarterback, not him though. To be that, it worked closer down the field. But I mean, I just think that maybe
This is the
me
play you was
playing
talking
scared,
about.
huh?
So this is the play you was talking about. But all right, so look at 32 playing the role of the mic on this play. So he just intentionally just ran into Ratledge. That's actually what you classify as I'm gonna go to the party, but I ain't gonna dance. Like, that's all he did. All right, so we get some big on that side, on the right side with Ratledge.
Man, they got ate up, man. Bama was coming for them boys.
Well, also I would say on this play right here,
Now I could see why Beck threw it away on that one. I mean that because y'all basically in
so 77 has no action because front side, if you look at the back side of the line right here, you got pretty much man coverage definition of a man coverage version of offensive lineman. Uh, scheme wise, 71 and 73, they taking those two ends right there, and you getting right here on the front side, you getting slide protection. 77 doesn't really have anything to do because that linebacker isn't coming. So all 77 has to do is kind of like chip, help out Ratledge over there with the defensive tackle. And then you got the running back number 8 getting ready to leak out. What the hell is that?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, now this is terrible on Carson Beck's behalf.
He terrible, man.
Look at this
Oh my
protection you
God.
got. Look at this dome you got
Yeah.
right here. You
Oh my
look, you
God. He got a
watched.
fence.
Listen to this. Look at this, man.
Yeah.
You watched the running back. You sat there, you stood there and watched the running back leak out. Once again, solid blocking. Boom.
Get rid of it. You know what I'm saying?
Look
Look
at
where
that.
you at, bro. You got the goal line. Get rid of it. You
You
know what I'm saying?
you got 3 on 2 on one side, and you got man up on the backside. Look at
You at
this.
least got, let's
You
see,
look him
1, 2,
off.
3, 4. Yeah.
Holding, holding, holding it, holding it, holding it, holding it, holding it. That had nothing to do with the look at that. That had nothing to do with the offensive line, though. Nothing to do with
Yeah.
the offensive line.
He made a hell
That's
of a
Lad
play. He still won.
McConkey.
Yeah, it's McConkey. Yeah, that figures. Yeah, first round pick. Yeah, baller.
But
Man, he.
all of that counts as a QB hurry when it was all his fault.
Mhm.
Boom. Okay, so I'm gonna run this back a little bit. All right, they playing with 2 down linemen. They got 2 edge rushers, 3 linebacker types in tight.
Yeah.
All right, they bringing 4. Easy enough. 71.
Mhm.
He's one on one with the left end. You getting a combination on the inside, but 77, he's gonna fade off. They don't bring that linebacker too much at all in this game. I noticed that. So they left Georgia in a situation where it was pretty much easier to block them from a numbers game wise. You're looking at what's going on here on the front side now.
Mhm.
Ratledge, once again, whoever this edge rusher is, he's trying to get skinny. I don't know what this edge rusher doing on the outside.
Ain't that Braswell? Oh, that's Braswell.
That's either
41.
Braswell or that's
Yeah.
Dallas. Dallas Turner.
But what I'm saying is,
Okay, stunt.
dude.
Look
Yeah,
where Ratledge
because
is at. Now you see
I'm
where
looking
Ratledge
at.
is at, right?
Yeah, yeah. I see him. Yeah, right there on the right. I see him. Um, I see a number of things, man. This is a horrible example, man, of just poor quarterback play. I mean, you first of all, you just put your quarterback on the island right now, and they offensive line really ain't winning a battle in this. Really, they not. They get kind of
Terrible
pushed
throw.
back a little bit. You know what I'm saying? It's just Tate Ratledge is a guy that knows his assignment, and he only one guy, but just to have the amount of talent that they had up front, it was just like it was just nothing was working. I don't know. They was really in a bind in this game. They had to lose. I wonder what was the score. They had to have lost this game. They couldn't have beat Alabama playing like this on offense, man. You know. Um. Now is okay. This is okay. Run this play. Is this now? Talk about this one now. Is this Tate
No,
Ratledge's
this is the same
assignment?
play.
Okay. Okay. Is that his
Yeah,
assignment to?
that's textbook. That's
Okay.
textbook
That's all I
right
was
there.
good to. Go back to that. Okay. He blocked one. He rubbed one. He rubbed the first guy and then
What's the
went after
pass
his
off?
guy.
It's the pass off. So it's obvious right now. This high IQ. Tate Ratledge understands. He can see it coming. You can see where his head is pointed right now. He understands that defensive end right there.
Yeah.
He's
41.
trying to take 65 because ultimately he wants to get outside of him, outside that shoulder. 41 right there. He's getting
Yeah.
ready. He's getting primed to cut back inside because he wants to attack that A gap between 77 and Ratledge at 69. So Ratledge's responsibility, which is what he's doing right there, he's not trying to block him. All he's trying to do is pass him off to the line to his tackle. That's all he's trying to do. And once he passes him on, look, he pushes him off, catches the edge,
Mm-hmm.
save this man's life just so he can do this bullshit.
Ain't
This
nobody
is what I'm
open.
talking about. He
Yeah.
saved that man's life just so he can do that bullshit. First
And
and
that was
10,
the wrong
man.
route, though. It seemed like they had three receivers past 15 yards. Where's the short guy at? You know what I'm saying? Where's the in the middle of the field throw? That was dumb play calling, man. It's terrible. But yeah, I feel you all. Okay. Okay, I see what you did there. He passed them off, sealed the gap. I like that. Okay, this is another play. Okay, yeah. Now he going against this guy one-on-one, right? This is his
Look where
assignment to
Ratledge
take.
at, though.
Yeah, he low.
He beating him. He already beating him
Shit,
off the
Ratledge is in strut.
yeah.
Look, he the only one on that line ready to go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Looking
saying?
at a 4-3
73 looking
alignment
at
right
him
there.
like, damn, he about to kill this guy. You know what I'm saying?
Got him. Leverage. Even
Yeah.
though that defensive tackle right there for Bama, he's got some leverage. Can't see exactly from this angle, but you don't have to always get the initial leverage if you can beat that defensive tackle to the spot.
Yeah.
And that's what he did. He beat him to the spot. He got set before him. One-on-one, hands inside.
Yeah.
Now, this counter right here, this is designed. Well, Bama did a good job of kind of trying to blow it up. But if you notice, 71, 77,
Yeah, there's a
and
lot
Ratledge.
going on. Yeah, there's a lot going on
Everything
right
is
there.
designed. They all kind of blocking in unison to turn everything outside. So that way they can open up things for 32, hit that A gap on the right side. And they did.
Yeah. Woo.
Look at
Dude,
that.
if you
Look
got
at
the
Ratledge.
right running back, could really he got a little bit of a crease, a little bit.
Now,
He could have
73 out there, he screwed up because I don't know why he allowed him to disengage like that.
look now. See Rattler still. That's what I mean. Little playing and that little face mask I see there a little bit, but a little
that
face
is that
mask.
is some face mask
I
right there.
see the little club right there.
Oh, good. Good.
Yeah, but that's
So
still.
73, yeah. 73
Yeah,
managed to recover and get him out of that C gap.
yeah.
And that's a nice game right there.
Yeah. I see 69 like he like to mix it up, man. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Tate Ratledge, we can see he battles out there. Okay, I like this. Okay, shotgun. Okay, now they pass. They're getting some positive yards. Now let's see him play downhill a little bit. You know what I'm saying? He's still fighting. Was able to just muster up to get a couple yards, but
All right, 3rd and 2.
mm-hmm.
3rd and 2.
Okay, now look. Okay, hold on for a second. Now what's his assignment right here? Like, you know what I'm saying? Okay, clearly
His
he's got it.
assignment right
Is this
here.
a pull? Okay, is he pulling or is he?
So this is an odd front. You're looking at 3 down linemen. Typically in this situation, the right tackle is going to go ahead and man up on that edge on his side. Tate should slide over some to 77 and kind of help him out there, Chip, depending on the direction of where the ball is designed to go, running ball, rushing wise. Tate would get to the second level and take on this linebacker right here that's pointing the mic right there. But
Mm.
we're gonna see how this
So
unfolds
he go shoot.
slowly.
So he should go and get him, right? Okay, okay.
Okay. All right. So it's a slide protection. And
Yeah.
what I mean by slide protection is you got 73, 69, 77, 56, and 71, all sliding left. And 19, the tight end,
Yeah.
all sliding left.
That Brock Bowers. Yeah.
Yeah.
But okay.
Problem with that is
Yeah.
that, well, that's a, I don't want to get too deep into that. That was more of a overload situation with Alabama on that side of the defensive line, with that side of the offensive line.
Yeah.
I didn't switch the angle up. So he's still at right guard. He's lined up right now with 91. I actually like this angle right here because you get to see exactly where they lined up. So you're looking at number 91 pretty much. He's not lined up exactly over him at right guard. At that spot, that would be 2 tech. So right now, he's lined up at 3 tech right there. All right, we got some pulling. Look how quickly Tate got off.
Yeah.
Where's Tate heading? He heading to that C gap. And he got his boy trailing behind him. So it was all about the misdirection, the smoke and mirrors.
Mm-hmm. And they
All
going
of
the
that
other
was
way.
designed, yeah. All of that,
Yeah.
but man, Alabama got some them boys fast.
Them boy,
Hey, that was
man, them
Darian
boys
Arnold.
them boys so disciplined, man. You know. Yeah, 41 Braswell. Yeah, he getting. And then
Once again, another duo.
Yeah.
Got another duo right there. Oh no, that's a flat out double team on 96.
Yeah, but Tate got my
Damn.
man sealed off. He sealed him off on that. Shit, that was a hell of a play right there by Tate. You know what I'm saying, Walt? He erased him out that whole play. He erased him. Let's see.
Because it was designed to be a double team.
look, he grabbed him. Yeah, it was a double team though. You're right. I mean,
Yeah.
he still kind of, I mean,
Truthfully,
it is what it
96
is.
got him on the outside shoulder, but the right tackle managed to come in and help him out.
Yeah,
So they managed to work 96 all the way out that A
they
gap.
sealed
That's
him right
crazy.
out of there.
No, I don't know what the hell what the hell was he doing?
Yeah.
I guess that's all number two felt like he had to get. All right, 3rd and 2. Ball on their own 33-yard line.
Um.
See, you're going to get a lot of plays like this too.
Yeah, there's a lot going on right there.
So that's another slide protection. The only
Mhm.
thing about these slide protections I noticed against, let me see what kind of front Bama was in on this particular play. 1, 2, 3, 4. They had relatively 5 people close to the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
So sometimes in them situations when you good shit 73. When you have them situations like that, man, them slide protections don't necessarily work when they start overloading the front line of the defense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's.
Let's go back to see what happened.
Oh.
Hold on.
You know.
Ratledge on 91. Ratledge are gonna pull.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
not bad
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah. No, that's a good play. I mean, even though he kind of was caught in no man's land, but still, like you said, sometimes you can overload one side, and then like you said, misdirection go to the other side. But you got.
All right, so right here, you're looking at where Tate is at. Tate is going to chip on 96, but you can already see where his head is at. So really, pretty much his responsibility on that is to help out the guard. I mean, help out the center right there with 96. But also, if 41 starts getting the best of his tackle, I
Mhm.
may have to slide out and help him on that running that loop. He's watching. He's watching. Doesn't need to though because the tackle handles his business. But I think in these blocking schemes, it's interesting to watch how these offensive linemen all work together and how pass protection, for the most part, people think is all about the left tackle was bad or the right tackle was bad. No, sometimes the center didn't do his job or the right guard didn't do his, whatever. Now you look at right there. What did he do? He finished the play. Now he finished the play against a very small linebacker, but once again he got to the third level. He carried that linebacker to the third level.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, duo.
Oh yeah.
What kind of shit is that? That's your boy though. You give him a clean pocket to do stuff like that. Like that's what I
Yeah.
keep saying.
Yeah. Just take. Yep. There you go. Took
Once
50
again,
right on. Again, that was kind of same play.
bootleg. Gonna roll out. All
Yeah.
right, good play.
Man, Bama was there on them plays, boy. Them boys something else, man.
Yeah, that's a lot of speed on that Bama defense last year, 2023.
Mhm. Yeah. Now Tate, now he primarily was right on the right side, right? He doesn't.
Yeah, right
Yeah,
guard.
he. Okay, right.
He's
I mean,
locked in
that's
with
what I mean.
93
Right
right
guard.
here. Yep.
Yeah, okay. So I think the spot that was kind of open last year because Mahogany played right guard next to Sewell, right? Last year is the
Hmm.
how ain't that how it went last year for a little while? Because Zeitler was
Yeah.
on the left side. Yeah. So So yeah, so right now it's a situation already. Unless I don't know, I can't remember if Mahogany played any left side or is it even gonna matter when he's at Boston College or not. You know what I'm saying? But he did play primarily the right side last year. Talking about Christian Mahogany, I'm just trying to see. I'm trying to get Ratledge on the field, man. You know what I mean? I want him out there pretty much. So we'll get into Miles Frazier, like you said, later on in the week. But it's just going to be interesting to see how this shake out. Once training camp starts. You know what I mean? Because even the situation where Giovanni Manu, it's like he going to be like riding the bench again for another season? You know what I
More
mean?
than
Or
likely.
I mean,
I'm just saying, more than likely.
yeah, because you clearly got two guys, man. That's
Good pull. Nothing happened from him because them Alabama linebackers fast as hell.
mhm.
3rd and 12. All right, we get to see him get a little bit of get back, absorb a little bit, take on some of these pass rushers. Okay. So 41 pretty much he kind of chopped himself into a double team right there.
Mhm.
So if you look at that on the front side on there, Tate locked in with his tackle with 41. You get man blocking on the other side, but it looks like 92 is going to try to run a stunt, which he does. 56 catches him.
Damn.
Who the hell gave up that sack? Let me see that. Run this back real
For the
quick.
71? Yeah, I think it's 71. Whoever 71 is, he was getting beat all night. Is that Dallas Turner?
Hold on 1 second.
On that Dallas Turner from Bama?
Who got through?
Damn,
Okay.
he
Yeah, the
overpowered
tackle
him.
got beat. Wasn't Ratledge they got beat.
Mhm. Yeah. And this was the year
I'm gonna
that,
run a couple more plays before we get people.
yeah. And Ratledge was
Well, they
like,
won the
this was
national
the
title back,
year,
was it 2022?
I think 2023 was the year 2024, excuse me, he had the injuries. 2023
Yeah.
was a more productive year for him.
Yep. All right, so Georgia doing all this throwing.
Yeah.
You're not gonna see too much in the rest of this game because Georgia was in some decent max protect, so you're not gonna
Hmm.
get a lot. 3rd quarter, 15 minutes, 1st and 10.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, there's a lot going on. The chess game was something else in this game because they were trying to disguise different things. Okay,
Yeah,
now you
it's
got Ratledge tight, close to the center. Let's see. This is this. Okay. Oh yeah, he took the guy on
Seven's
one
gonna pull.
by himself that time. Sprung a nice game. You see that time?
I will say this:
Well, he
Bama
took,
did a great job this game too of erasing all those cutback lanes for Georgia.
but that one Rattlers took his man out of there with no help that time. You know what I mean? Sprung a big run.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
oh, go ahead.
It's a lot. It's a lot to like. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. It's a lot
Oh,
to
you good?
like here. You know what I'm saying? We know every play is not going to be ran the same way, or every rep isn't going to be perfect because sometimes you got to make instincts got to kick in on a dime, man. You know what I'm saying? When you play NFL football, college football for that matter. And for the most part, for me, I think that he He's well disciplined. You can see he's well coached because he knows his assignment. He knows his lane. He knows where he's supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? That's one thing that's going to bode well for him. That kind of training and that kind of just experience in big game situations. Like you said, that was the SEC championship game we was watching right there. So I mean, I don't think the moment's going to be too big for him. But I just picture in them games while I think about it in November and December. We got a lot of cold games this year. Think about that. It's going to be outside. I think the schedule comes out. I don't know when we're going to be in Chicago this year, when we're going to go to Philly this year, when we're going to, I know we got some outside games. I think we play the Commanders too this year. I don't know if it's home or on the road, but it's come Ratledge, long story short, is Ratledge is going to be a guy you want to have out there, man, to be able to, you know, control a line of scrimmage. You know what I'm saying? I mean, make no mistake about it. If you have an offensive line of Sewell, Ratledge, Ragnow, Decker, you know what I mean? You controlling the line of scrimmage, with those guys, up front, to me, if you ask me. So for me, Walt, before we get out of here, I mean, I just think that overall, I mean, let me ask you this. Do you think it was a pick that we had to make regardless of what the glaring need at defensive end was? Or do you think, or like, would you even would have took Tate Ratledge and went just flat out, just took an edge rusher? You know what I'm saying? To say, you know what? I can get my guy later, which we did kind of with Miles Frazier too. But I just think the question is, would you would have picked him over Mike Green? You know what I'm saying? That's basically, I think,
I'm
what's
gonna
going to
go
be
back
the
to what
question.
Brad Holmes been saying forever.
Yeah,
They're privileged to information that we're not. We can get a hold of film, we can watch all the film we want. That film is still like a microcosm in comparison to the abundance of information they have on these players. And just because we view Mike Green as a first round pick or a top 10 pick doesn't mean they did. Um, did we pass on him? Yeah, we did. If I'm not mistaken, every other team did too, at least once.
yeah,
The dude had some pretty heinous allegations going against him. We saw Isaiah Bond not even get drafted
yeah,
because of the allegations he had against him. So maybe
yeah,
they just view Tate Ratledge as a better player. That's the part of the draft I think fans have to really come to grips with. It's not always about edge rusher. Most important in this position, must take edge rusher first. Like that doesn't always
yeah,
go that way. I mean,
yeah,
if guys start coming off the board and then the guys you have a prime example, they talked about the year that Malik Willis and Kenny Pickett and all those guys, Matt Corral, had the first round hype, and
mm-hmm,
people were rumoring us to take Malik Willis in the top 5, and they wound up not doing that. They didn't take a quarterback, period, and they wound up. Malik Willis was what, a 5th round pick?
mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah. So I think a
10
lot of
pick,
that
yeah,
goes back to fans just believing so much of the hype when it comes to these players, man. Overall, but Ratledge, I'm comfortable with the pick because I'll never poo-poo anybody, any team for that matter, organization trying to make sure they keep their trenches tight, on both sides of the line of scrimmage.
yep,
And like you said, we talked about this before. This is chess, not checkers. You
yep,
thinking about edge rush, pass rush. Okay, does anybody pay attention to what the New York Giants did? They probably had pass rush wise the best front 7 in football last year, and they added Abdul Carter and they added Darius Alexander. So they added the best interior pass rush and defensive tackle in Darius Alexander and the
mm-hmm.
best edge rusher to Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau and
Thibodeau,
Dexter
yeah,
Lawrence.
Dexter
So what the hell
Lawrence.
is Mike
Wow.
Green going to do about that?
Yeah,
It's
right.
only common sense. You look at the fact that look at what the Rams did this year. Look at what the Rams did last year. year. Look what the Rams did the prior year with Kobe Turner and Braden Fisk and Jared Verse, and then adding Josiah Stewart this year.
Mm-hmm.
What is Mike Green going to do to help that?
Yeah.
They
You
went
know,
out and got 2 offensive linemen because if y'all getting ready to pin your ears back and come after my quarterback, the best thing I can do is make sure we can protect him. Look at the Philadelphia Eagles. You talking about Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis. They lost what, Milton Williams,
man,
free agency.
Williams,
What
yeah.
did they do? They went out and got Ty Robinson.
Yeah,
Come on.
yeah. And they
Like
already had
it's
Nolan Smith, and you know what I'm saying? They, just yeah. I get what you're saying. And I always think too, and I think we've said this, I've said this numerous amount of times. I do think you gotta keep whatever you're good at, you gotta continue to be strong at it. You know what I'm saying? And I think the Lions, as much as people want us to be the 85 Bears, or our bread and butter is the offensive line, man. That's where we're gonna win or lose. You know what I'm saying? I truly believe that. I just think that when it comes down to it, yeah, of course everybody knows defense wins, and you need pressure on the quarterback, and you got to be able to get off the field on third down. But the Lions motto is, damn it, y'all ain't outscoring us, period. You know what I'm saying? I believe that. I think that's the mentality. I don't think that they're here to have the number one defense in the NFL. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to have the number, maybe not even a top 5 defense, which that's fine too. I mean, you don't need a top 5 defense to win the Super Bowl or be successful. We've seen that. But, so for me, to put a bow on the show tonight, I mean, the pick as a whole, I think we both agree. We both like the pick. I think 80% of Lions fans like Tate Ratledge, you know what I'm saying? Like for what they saw. I think the film study, was a good indicator of who he is, you know what I'm saying, on a down in, down out basis. You know what I mean? I don't think he is a guy that you're really gonna have to hold his hand, man. I really don't. I just think that once he gets in the weight, I would like him to be a little bit more bulky, but then that might take away the athleticism. I think he's real nimble on his feet, man, and I really like that about him, because we got a lot of guys in our division that can get to the quarterback. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna need him
yeah.
when we're trying to fend off the Bears, and they rush and pinning their ears back, just what you said. You know what I'm saying? What's the guy for Packers? Edrin Cooper last year, a guy that I was real high on. I mean, I think that he could pick up. We've seen him pick up in the film study. Chris Braswell was a guy that was constantly trying to get to the quarterback, and he was fending them off for the most part. You can chip him, give him some help, or
I'm gonna say this too,
yeah.
to piggyback off everything you just said. And there's another feather in his cap, and you right along with me. It's all about competition. Playing in the SEC, not only playing in the SEC against all of those other teams that put out these first round picks on the defensive line on a year to year basis. Think about the dudes he played against in practice the last 3-4 years, bro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, uh, Nazir Stackhouse,
That's your stack cost. Yep.
Quay Walker,
Mm-hmm.
all of these guys, Devontae Wyatt,
Yeah. Wyatt. Yep. Green Bay. Yep.
Trayvon Walker. Like, he played against all of these dudes for Georgia. And not played against, but he practiced against all of these dudes in practice.
Yeah.
Week in, week out, day in, day out. Then you got to go out there on Saturday and deal with Walter Nolan and Ole Miss, or
Yeah.
Shamar Stewart or them boys at Texas A&M.
Yeah.
This is why I'm so big on competition, man.
Mm-hmm.
For him to give up that little bit of pressures and
Yeah.
those few sacks and the amount of starts he had in the SEC, that's very, very impressive.
Yeah, because like you said, it was Texas. Who they got? Baron Searle and Alfred Collins. He held his own against Alfred Collins a couple of times too. Both of those guys got drafted in the league. So just what you said, man, I totally agree. I think the SEC is NFLU, man, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying, with the talent wise. So if you're playing and you're starting and you're playing on a high level for SEC squad, you legit in my book. You know what I'm saying? Because like again, the level of intensity, the coaches that's in that league, Kirby Smart, Nick Saban for forever. they're not going to let you. You're not going to be a guy who don't love football and play for those guys. It's not even a thought. So I like Tate Ratledge. I'm happy with the pick. I'm just ready for training camp, to see him get in there and see where he falls. You know what I'm saying? I think the competition is gonna be healthy. Somebody might not be on this roster that was here on this team last year. You know what I'm saying? As far as
Kobe
Sorsdahl, Awasika,
I don't think it's a guarantee Broderick makes it. Not Broderick. I'm
uh,
so why we're so eager to get rid of
yeah, we
Broderick,
so
man?
get rid of Broderick Martin.
I just lump him and Giovanni Minute together,
Yeah,
man.
Manu. Yeah. Manu
Um,
might be a guy they just wash their hands of all together. You never know.
well, I expect these new dudes to smoke Giovanni Minute.
Mhm.
They
Yeah.
they they should. Like, he's a complete project, So it's you talking about a guy who may ultimately become another practice squad player, and that's kind of disappointing for year two for him to
Mhm.
be there. But just looking at it based off of the talent that we've added,
Yeah.
and we're not done. You're talking about undrafted free agents. You're talking about adding probably more depth when it comes to free agency overall over the
Yeah.
next few months. You're talking about starting to come in. So yeah, I think we're moving in the right direction, man. And also felt it was very important because Panay Sewell is the rock of that offensive line. He's the youngster. He's the baby still of it. People forget how young Panay Sewell still is. He's gonna be there when all them other boys gone. Decker got, I would say, one season at the longest. After this,
Mhm.
I seriously doubt if Taylor Decker is our starting left tackle in 2026.
Mhm. Yeah.
I doubt it. For
Yeah.
damn sure not 2027. Listen, Glasgow will be gone. If
Yeah.
Glasgow is not gone at the end of 2025, you can, off what you just said, could he be gone before the season starts?
Mhm.
If these young boys go out there and just smoke him, he may
Yeah.
not make it to
Yeah.
the
He might
training
get
camp.
cut. Yeah. He
Yeah,
might get cut. You know what I'm saying? Training. If we see it every training camp, you know what I'm saying. But like you said, we like Graham, and he's been here, and he's from here, been here twice, and went to Michigan. So he on everybody's softy list, and don't nobody want to cut Graham Glasgow. And not that we picking on him or saying, but the fact of the matter is they drafted two linemen, bro. You know what I'm saying? So somebody, it ain't enough spots for everybody. That's all I'm saying. So somebody getting cut. You know what I mean? The writing's on the wall. If you don't perform, then you're only going to have so many players that's rotational guys. I mean, you're not going to carry what 9 offensive linemen. I don't think. Remember, I think last year it's been maybe 7 or 8 the last couple years. I think it was. Maybe they did carry 9 last year total.
I mean, you're talking
Yeah.
about with the versatility they have now. They could possibly just keep Sourcedall based off the fact that he's been in the system for 2 years. He's done everything they've asked him to do. Can he step in the pinch and play left guard, right guard? Sure, he's proven that he's not a tackle at either spot.
Mm-hmm.
But you're looking at probably, and I don't want to start predicting what the offensive line depth chart is going to be, but I think it's honest that Makai Wingo. I brought Makai Wingo. I think Makai Wingo jumped in my brain because you can't tell me that he didn't give them some side notes and some side insight into uh Miles Frazier as a player. Makai Winko spent the last 3 years, no, the last 2 years because he did transfer from Missouri. Makai Wingo spent what 2 years playing against this dude in practice. So
Yeah.
who knows Miles Frazier better than Makai Wingo?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they brought him
I
in.
didn't even think about that. That's true. Yeah. That's
So
true.
I think most of these teams nowadays they want to keep at least one swing guy, a guy that can play some tackle, play some center, some guard in the pinch or whatever. That's probably going to be Miles Frazier. Mahogany's going to start. Glasgow's probably going to get the start and nod, unless he chokes things up. But boy, knowing this organization, they probably got some bigger plans than we even thinking about. They may have plans for this man to play center for all we know. But they may say, man, you know what? Tate Ratledge is so athletic. I think maybe he can play left tackle.
Could
You
be.
just you never know because they
Mhm.
already love cross training all the offensive linemen. Hank loves doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
I did hear one last thing on defense. I did hear that we could get a rumor out there we could get Matthew Judon. I heard that on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, we'll get into like late signings because, like you said, I think as a Darius Smith still hovering out there, hasn't signed with a team yet. I think that's real interesting. That he hasn't signed with anybody yet. So that part of the free agent cycle is still, it's still free agency. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of teams now that the draft is over, the dust is settled. Teams are getting their roster together. You got guys like
yep.
Von Miller still out there. And you got to believe that Von Miller's going to latch on to somebody's team here late, before, probably through the summer, you know what I'm saying? But so it's just interesting. It's just interesting those guys haven't signed yet. It's a lot of guys out there. So we'll see what happens.
Definitely. And I think that's a bright spot to help Lions fans kind of cope with not getting the big time edge rusher that they felt like they deserved and that they wanted. We all wanted because I wanted one too in the first round or the second round. But who knows? I mean, the guy that we got later on in the draft out of Boise State, we're going to get into
Yeah.
his film. His film was real fun.
Yeah, yeah. Ahmed Hassani,
Edge
yeah.
rush film is pretty fun to watch. And his guys that play as powerful as he plays, as fast and as determined, as hair on fire as he plays, yeah, Lions fans are gonna love him, and he could
Not,
turn out to, be the guy that gives us that pressure.
that's right. That's right. And then next show we going into Isaac Tesla.
We
That's
driving the Tesla.
driving a Tesla. That's what we doing. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so I think this is gonna be real fun because this guy's got something. I'm just gonna be honest to our audience. Don't know that much about him. I ain't gonna lie. I did. He came across the board for me. I heard Lewis Riddick talking about him maybe 2 weeks before the draft, and I try to watch because I like Lewis Riddick. I think he's excellent what he does. And I kind of looked at him and dude can play ball, man. When we will talk about like what we gave up to get him and who we were still on the board because my guy Landon Jackson was there and we didn't take him. Ironically, they played on the same team. I thought that was funny. That they didn't take Landon Jackson. Wound up going to Buffalo, I think. But yeah, so it's gonna be fun. That's another fun video too. You know what I'm saying? Because dude has got it's something there, but like how much it's up to my man Walt. He'll let us know how much was it too much to give up, or was we right where we needed to be, or could we have got him later, or
I'm always in the camp of waiting to see,
yeah.
especially when it comes to players with talent. Now, Giovanni Manu from last year, I ultimately said this is bullshit.
Me
That
too.
was the first thing
Oh
because it
man.
do like you drafted a player, you moved up to draft a player in the third round that ESPN didn't even have any footage on.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
so, you did the ultimate reach, for a prospect. I don't think Tesla was that big of a reach though. Tesla's name, to your credit, it was picking up some steam. The closer we got to the draft, people started talking a lot more about him. And we've talked about this at nauseum about getting a wide receiver, and I don't want to talk about Tim Patrick. We talked about getting a wide receiver with that X skill set. A
Yes.
bigger guy, 6'2,
Yep.
6'3, 6'4, a guy that can similar to that DJ Chark skill set. Now,
Yeah.
hopefully he turns out to be better than DJ Chark turned out to be for us and more consistent, but a guy that can run the deep posts, can run the corners, he can run that deep comeback. He's big and physical enough to go across the middle and run those shallows and run those deep ends and those short ones. Like, you want the guy that can do all of that stuff. We know what St. Brown is. St. Brown doesn't beat a lot of man coverage. St. Brown gets open through a lot of rubs, a lot of mesh routes. You notice when you see him get open. J-Mo's the guy that takes the top off the defense. We desperately need somebody that can do everything else.
Yeah.
And hopefully if he works out, this is also a guy with big time hands, didn't drop a single pass last season. Maybe it's a guy that just was underutilized in college, and now he's going to be in a situation where he's in an offense that's going to showcase his skill set. If he works out, nobody's going to give a damn about what we gave up for him. Let's be honest about it. Not saying he has to be a 1,300-yard receiver next year. If he turns out to be a 600-yard guy,
yeah,
or a 500-yard guy, gets us 4 or 5 touchdowns, nobody's going to care.
Yeah. Possibilities.
So, yep. All right, man. Another good show. I want to thank everybody for joining us again tonight. We will be back with Isaac Tesla, wide receiver, Arkansas. Till next time, one pride.